Hey guys, welcome to another episode where we dive deep into revenue, ops, and ABM. We have today Steffen. Hey Steffen.
Nice to see you, Romeo.
Hey. And we go deep into something that many people ask us, the revenue attribution, right? And it's the biggest question, where to put the money, basically. Where should we invest? Steffen, big goals you have in your company, in Dream Data. I would say let's start with you telling us a bit about you, about the company, and obviously then we dive deep into more discussions, and I can have the questions on the way.
Yeah, happy to, Romeo. So ever since I graduated university back in early 2010, I've always been working in B2B companies in marketing and growth related roles. So by now I've probably failed at most tactics and also found a few that works and build a lot of experience in this whole B2B go-to-market and particularly marketing part of the section. Then it's always been in somewhat of a startup or scale-up kind of companies, and it's always been in very digitally focused, if not 100% digital focused companies. So my view of the world is very much biased by these things. Today I'm a co-founder of a company called Dreamdata, which is basically a B2B revenue attribution platform, go-to-market platform. We basically help our customers, as you say, understand their customer journeys and help them identify where they should probably scratch some costs and where they can put some more money. And I think that's probably the quickest of warm-ups to my background.
So what's your take on all this Chris Walker narrative with the self attribution or self made attribution? Because
I think they call it
it's a big hot discussion all the time on LinkedIn about it.
Yeah, I think it's like first of all, it doesn't cost any money to implement. So I would definitely recommend most companies to implement it, to have another data point to kind of help them understand what's going on. We tested it at Dreamdata, the method, where we ran it on 100 demo calls that were booked. And then we created a blog post where we shared our learnings. So perhaps in the show notes you can link to that afterwards. But I think in general, what we found, and it's just a sample of 100 booked demo calls, but that was that people don't remember how they enter into your funnel, because we could take kind of their journey, what they've passed through, that we recorded in Dreamdata, and then compare it to what they put into the self-reported field. And that was there's a big discrepancy between what people say. Then I think that a good self-reported answer, at least for us, was kind of a unicorn. It's like 1 out of 100 were useful. And the directions you get from these self-reported answers are quite vague, because like if somebody writes to you, I found you on Google. That's okay. Did you click an ad? Which ad did you click, or did you come organically? Which page did you enter through, and so forth? I'm saying it's easy to implement. You don't lose anything by doing, and you might discover something, but just don't think that it's going to be the holy grail for your company, because in more cases than not, it's not going to be that.
So let's take a few steps back and explain to people the self-reported attribution. In short, it's a form with the open field where you ask people, where did you hear about us? And then later on, you would extract all these data, which you maybe categorize them in different, let's say, sources, right? So tell us a bit, why would you do that in a B2B SaaS or in a B2B company versus the traditional one, and where does Dream Data solve the traditional problem, let's say, and the self-reported attribution?
Yeah, so where to start? I think the self-report, this is not my expert topic, but in my opinion, it can at least help you understand where your marketing stood out for some people, where you did something that was extraordinary for people that they actually remember. But be mindful of what I said before. Most people don't actually remember how they learned about your company, but it can be a source for information. I think also a danger in it is that it can be very confirmation biased. So let's say you started a podcast and you spend tons of resources on it, then you will risk being exaggerating the impact of the podcast if one person out of 1,000 writes, I actually heard about you on the podcast, when you could actually be spending your money differently. Then if we then go to traditional ways to measure, I think most B2B marketers use Google Analytics or their CRM system or some kind of ad platform. And all of these are exceptionally flawed when it comes to understanding a B2B customer journey. Some benchmarks we put out last year, it showed that the average journey was from the first touch to win an account, it was 192 days. There was more than 31 sessions involved and more than 2 people on every deal. And when you say these things, those tools that I mentioned before just start not working. Like Google Analytics has no clue what's going on. The CRM system will capture the last session in which you converted. But what if there was 5 or 10 visits to your website before that conversion? The ad platform can only tell you that you spent money and acquired a click. At best, you got an email. But they have no transparency into what happens further down 6 months from now. What Dream Data then does, or I can just explain the concept of what we do. We basically take any digital touch you have that touches your customer journeys. So that's any person on any account and anything they do. We extract that data out of all the silos that they live in today and join it all into one data warehouse. And then our algorithms cleans the data and deduplicate it and organize it into an account-based timeline, essentially. So that means that you will have any account that you deal with and any touch that is digitally available here. So that might be a scenario where you have Salesforce as the CRM, HubSpot as the marketing automation tool. You have a website, you pay for intent data, you buy ads, etc. All of that will be available in this one map. Now, that we don't catch if you met somebody at a bar and you talked about some certain product, or somebody in a Slack channel mentioned you. What you have in that map that we will give you is any digital touch that you have available, and then mapped into one holistic picture of what's going on.
So is this cookie based, and how does the new Apple privacy policy changes all this, where we are trying to get rid of what the UTM tags that they are trying to get rid of, right? And then the cookieless, in a cookieless world, how would this work?
Yeah, so we use a cookie and tracking in local storage as well. Now I just need to see the cookieless world before I believe that it's there. But I think what you need to remember here is that we're in B2B, and the way our data model works is that every time the user shows up, we'll set the tracking. Then cookie might get deleted, but the next time you click a newsletter, we'll just re-put the tracking right there. So every time in these average of 31 sessions, we'll just put the tracking every time you come back. And in the data warehouse, we'll write down, on this day you did XYZ. Next time we see you, you're back, and it's another day today. Then I'll write where did you come from, etc. So in B2B, this kind of that the cookie disappears is not that big a problem because you can catch that in your data warehouse, and you can reset that tracking every time you interact with the customer.
Okay,
so for us, it's not been a problem that we have experienced that much. And then if I just can say one more thing, Romeo, then a solution like ours is not supposed to take you to 100%, but it's supposed to help you make decisions. So if, let's say, we catch 60 or 70% of what's going on, that's still going to be plenty enough to identify significantly poor marketing efforts or significantly positive marketing efforts. And if you then run in a kind of a revenue feedback loop between moving from what doesn't work to what works, then your go-to-market improves over time.
So, Steffen, take me a little bit back. How did you guys, when you looked at this attribution, where did this problem come from? And when did you thought like, okay, now we need to find a solution for this problem, and this is the market in which we want to be in, and to solve the problem for, right?
Yeah, it's nice that you say it, because we actually don't at Dreamdata perceive ourselves as being in the attribution market. It's just a feature that we have available.
Mm-hmm.
The actual product that we offer to companies is to build this single source of truth for the whole B2B go-to-market. So we will automatically keep this data model running, and then we can solve all sorts of different questions for you, attribution being one of them, but there's so many other use cases. The way we got started on this problem is a bit two-sided. So I come from a B2B marketing leader background, where I've gone through this kind of scaling journey a couple of times. And in my last company, we went from spending €0 on ads to spending €100,000 on ads per month. And all I could do was to look at the ad spend the month we spent the money, and then what came in through the shop in the same month, even though I knew that the customer journey would be 6 or 12 months or something like that. So the solutions out there would be super stupid, but that's all that even today still most B2B marketers have available.
So the monthly
that problem, yeah, it's completely stupid, because that cohort of the clicks you buy this month has nothing to do with the revenue you see this month. My two co-founders were getting at this problem from another side. They were responsible for the Trustpilot.com product, which is a really, really big review site. They got super curious in understanding from when an account is created on Trustpilot, when do we sell to this account, and what happens in between the sign up and we sell. So the core idea of what we have now made a product out of came out of that. We need to understand what touches the customers right now, like marketing, sales, CS, etc. Once you've gotten that figured out, you start asking yourself these questions. Is it better that the account enters from organic search on Google, or outbound, or paid, or whatever? And are they then more likely to churn, to upsell, or whatever question you can imagine? So what we do at Dreamdata is basically to give you any account that you deal with, and give you a timeline of anything that happens with this account in any tool.
So at what stage of a company you think we should start looking at this? Because, one could say, you know what, I work in a big company, I run digital media ads, I look at the CAC, I look at, let's say, the LTV, I could look at the customer lifetime value in 1 year from now, and maybe I could attribute those ads, right? Maybe I'm using a first touch and last touch, a U-shape form, and then that's okay, right? Like that's what I need to go to my manager, and I need to say, look, our ads on LinkedIn, they're good. They are bringing revenue. because look, we got these clients from LinkedIn ads or from organic search. They got some impressions from there. So at what stage you could say, okay, this is not enough. This is not enough to know only this, and you want to dive deep into all the touch points. So what maturity level should that company have to start putting these questions and paying attention to what you guys are saying, right?
Yeah. So good question. A couple of comments. I think comment one is that you probably want to start thinking about it before you actually need to do the analysis. It's a bit like this kind of the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best is now. And what I mean by that is that you need some history of data to actually do some meaningful analysis. So there's a time between when you can start analyzing and when did you start to track all these different things. Yeah. So as soon as your gut feeling tells you it's about time, then it is about time. You can't wait any longer about getting the proper setup, at least set up. Then I would say it depends. Like if you have close to zero revenue, no visitors on your website, then it's much better to do a ton of stuff than worry about how do I measure it. So you need to kind of get up and running and do different things and start seeing what happens. I think the first thing you should start with is just asking yourself this question in your team: where does revenue come from? What is it that we do? Like start building a narrative, a story about we do X, Y, Z things, and then we can make money. So the first thing is just be curious about the topic and always talk about it whenever you win a customer. Where did this customer come from? And try to understand that. Once you get above that level, that's when you probably want to start looking at this problem, because there's no B2B company in the world that doesn't have this problem, because journeys are 6 to 12 months. There's like you sell to a team, you don't sell to an individual. There's 30 or 50 sessions involved in a deal. So if you want to understand what's going on and be effective with the money you spend, you have to get at this problem. And then, as if I can just be a little bit provocative, Romeo, please. The ones that would say we got the first touch and last touch model figured out, you don't. You're deceiving yourself. You don't see the first and last touch, because I can guarantee you're not wired to understand what's actually going on. So this thing about claiming that you have a first touch model figured out, yeah, you had the first touch of the last session of a conversion to an email or whatever. Correct, you're not even like skimming the surface of everything that's going on.
Like the first one of the main content, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Or interaction.
I think that one of the main go-to-market challenges we have at Dreamdata is that people don't know what they don't know. The problem is so much more severe than what is understood and recognized right now.
Correct. And what I understand that, okay, we can get some kind of clarity of the interactions in a go-to-market motion, in a go-to-market scenario, right? So can you give us a little? Let's do a use case, right? Like let's have a scenario in which, let's say, I have an AI B2B SaaS, because AI now is fancy, that I'm want to market out there. I go and I do a different kind of LinkedIn organic, because everybody needs to do LinkedIn organic. I do podcasts because everybody needs to do podcasts. And I run some kind of webinars, maybe with some demos and case studies. I maybe do some LinkedIn ads. Okay. So I do these activities. Now people come in, I maybe have a freemium model, let's say we have a trial model. I have a 7 days trial. You come in, you start to use my tool, you start to interact with the AI, you do few interactions. I have segment. I push my data to the CRM. I understand what kind of, let's say, usage is there, the adoption. Based on this, maybe I'm doing some lead scoring in my HubSpot CRM. So all good till now, right? Like I have all this, and I might know in HubSpot my first interaction, maybe how did this person come and sign up for the trial, right? Maybe they saw an ad or whatever. So now, please do the same scenario, the same story, when you have dream data in place in this full journey. And what are those data points that I have extra to what I just said that can help me make better decision, and why would be that important?
Yeah, I'll try to see if I can have the whole story in mind when I
but
talk.
Let's make it short, like extra things to what I said that are missing. Yeah, because there are most probably some missing parts from my story, right?
So I think a component that you can say 9 out of 10 accounts that we talk with miss is their website history and product history. Now, only if you've been using HubSpot's CMS as well, would you have like somewhat a clue of what path did
This
actually start. Yeah, but 9 out of 10 they won't. So they will start completely blindfolded. And
so if you have WordPress or Webflow or whatever, you're fucked. Like you don't know the data, you don't have any idea, and Dream Data gives you this information.
When you start using Dream Data, you get a tracking script. And the moment you install this on your website, we start first-party tracking your website. So you forever sit on the tracking data from your website. That means all journeys that come in from this point in time, now you would actually know what led to the conversions.
Okay, why is this important, Steffen? Why would be this an important for the whole revenue operation team in an ABM motion? Why this data is important as a...
We can try to talk a little bit about it differently. So if we think about the accounts that you have been winning the last 12 months, which path did they take?
Perfect. So
would you like to do more of those things that led to the 100 accounts that you won? And would you like to take the money you spend on all sorts of crap that didn't lead to anything besides emails and put into those things that led to the customers you got? I think most companies want to do that. So it's about getting rid of inefficiencies. It's about, you can only spend your money once, whether you want to spend it on sales or marketing or CS. You want to put it into that thing you can do that produces the most revenue for you.
So that's perfect. Emulation. We want to see what winning accounts did, guys, and then we want to emulate that. If we don't have the data, we cannot emulate it. It's like we want to be good in a shooting game, video game, in FIFA. Watch Twitcher, yeah? Like watch how the big guys are playing, emulate that, use all their tricks, use all their hints, and it's the same with our website journeys. Perfect. We have the first category.
It might be that the sales team say that the marketing team is useless, but the marketing might be able to see that we actually provided 80% of the accounts that you won this year. Or it might be that the sales team say, we need a huge budget to go to these expensive physical conferences. And then you look at the history from last year, and none of the leads that you picked up there ever went into the sales pipeline. So you can completely scratch that budget and put into more efficient stuff. So it's basically about the vision of being as data-driven as you can. And that to be able to do that, you need to have an account-based data model that enables you to take any digital reflection and say, did it move on to sales pipeline or to winning deals, etc.
That's perfect. So we have the first part. We have the website. You understand what was the journey. what is the next from my scenario that I was missing, and we can put in.
Yeah, it might be. Let's say you then ask yourself your question from trial to winning. What takes place in this bucket? Like, what are the good trials? How do these accounts look like? Where did they come from? Should we run webinars? Should seers touch them? Should we call them, etc.? All these things you can understand as well, because you will still have this digital timeline of everything that takes place with the account. It might be that it's certain features that people use before they start buying the product. So you can cut the timeline into different time specs, and then you can understand what is going on in here right now. And then you can use, and like in our case, you can use then our data-driven machine learning model to analyze which of the touches are the important touches.
So this is where you integrate with Segment and you get data from Segment, right?
No, we can use the tracking data from Segment if you've been storing that.
Okay.
But besides that, if we say Dream Data specifically, then we've built our own integrations to all the tools to make sure that we get exactly the data we need from the different APIs.
Okay, so if we have Mixpanel, we can integrate that into Dream Data, let's say, and get the data from the products. Okay, so how is I'm just wondering about the statistically relevance part, because in ABM we have few accounts. We don't have that many, interactions, and we don't have that many trials and so on, because it's high value accounts, right? So what in that case? Because you cannot really learn machine learning when I don't have bunch of bunch of interactions. So how do you see this in a ABM motion with lower amount of data?
I guess in like, if you're an account executive in this program, you would still like to know what are the 30 accounts that you're responsible for doing. Are they on your website? Are they on a review platform? Are they being exposed to ads on LinkedIn? Are they participating in webinars? And an account executive would still at any case be able to go into Dream Data and see what is going on with my accounts, so they can tailor their work towards this. I mean, but you're right, Romeo. If you're one of these businesses that don't have a lot of digital touches, and but just call them on your phone without using calling software, invite them to go eat a steak with you, and never register that you ate a steak with them anywhere, then it's very hard to explain what's going on. So it is kind of, if you're here, you can talk about ideal customer profiles, and it's not an ideal customer profile for us if you're a B2B business that doesn't have a CRM system or stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. Of course, like a CRM system, it's like, I suppose, the basics. But this is another crucial information, what you mentioned, Steffen, that the clarity, right? Like the visibility of the journey, right? So I am in sales, and this is, I think, my biggest, let's say, sales intelligence and powerful tool, where I can connect the dots when I have a call with someone based on their interactions with my tool and based on the interactions with my content, right? And also I can check what they did before they became content. So if I'm a smart salesperson, I could connect the dots. I could connect the dots of, okay, what were the content that you were looking for before you became our customer or even our potential customer? What did you consume while you became the customer, meaning that trial, that period when you were testing on our tool? And then what impact did it make our customer success team, our onboarding team, for you to have the adoption? And what are the issues that you're having now? So you as a salesperson can connect these dots and now have data-driven discussions, right? Like I know that this data-driven is very commonly used, but in this case, it's really something that you need. It's like a Swiss knife that you have this information, and this is what you would have. So
Yeah.
now at this point, what are those in your view, like with all this AI and with all these tech layoffs and what's happening in the market? What do you guys have as big challenge when, let's say, evangelizing this whole idea of having clarity and having visibility towards the full customer journey, so you can have, as you mentioned on your website, like finally have that single source of truth?
Yeah, I think the time we have right now really helps crystallize the necessity of a tool like this. You have to be more effective.
Mm-hmm.
You have to drive down your customer acquisition cost. Perhaps you're asked with skipping 50% of the marketing budget. Which half is it that you skip? So we have a lot of like people that come inbound because they've been tasked to become more effective. So they have to find solutions for this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the overall challenge that we face, which I also mentioned earlier, is that I think most marketers don't know how far technology has come in terms of actually understanding what's going on, because they're used to looking inside of GA and being completely depressed because they can't find any solutions, or like in the ad platform or in the CRM system. All of these systems are letting B2B marketers down. So the main thing is really, how can we raise awareness about what technology is available today? Because it can really become a place of huge inspiration if you get all this data extracted out of all the silos that it's in, and then get it mapped into these account-based journeys where you can see every touch of every account.
Mm-hmm. So if you think about this whole scenario where you need to drive awareness, right? Because you mentioned there is that audience that doesn't know what they don't know, right? Like you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So you guys in technology, you are doing the heavy lifting, right? Because in our case, as a agency or consultant, we come in maybe with an educated audience. We can go and say, okay, who are the guys who are using Dream Data, or who are the guys who use CRMs and HubSpot, and we are the guys who would implement things, right? Like we got more like a subject matter expertise, but we have already an educated audience, right? Like because we don't have the budget, we don't have the VCs, we don't have the capacity to raise that awareness, right? So these two need to go hand in hand, I think, like the agency and these technology companies. Now, in from your perspective, also for the audience that might be in a similar B2B space, where it might be in technology, could you give us some like use cases that you saw in raising awareness to a market that is in that Johari window of they don't know what they don't know?
I think what has been really an inflection point for us was really doing some work on who's really our ideal customer profile, like writing down objectively verifiable criteria of who is it that we want to sell to and who do we not want to sell to. It can be very painful when people show up at your doorstep saying they want to buy, but you can just see that it's a poor fit. Then in most cases, you have to say no to them. But it's really painful to do so. But on the other side, then once you decide upon who are our ideal customer profiles, like are there certain countries, certain industries, certain types of amount of employees, certain CRM systems, when you decide upon these things, then all other decisions become a lot easier. So we, for example, we sell a lot to B2B software companies between 50 and 5,000 employees. Then if I'm thinking about marketing activities, should I be doing something that is not within this scope? No, I should not. If I'm a salesperson, should I try to be selling to an account that is outside of the scope? No, you shouldn't spend your time on it. Or if you build product, you shouldn't build a feature for somebody who's not within this agreed scope. So in that sense, just really sitting down and thinking about who is the ideal customers, who will perceive our product as valuable, renew contract, etc. Then the rest of the decisions will follow, because you can always check them up against this thing that your whole company has agreed to do.
So basically choosing your battles at the end of the day, right? Like choosing those.
Most of us don't have money to boil the ocean in that sense. Like if you're Coca-Cola or Nike, you can just like splash the whole world with advertising. But the rest of us has to be really careful and efficient with how we like put in the few dollars that we do have available.
So now, okay, we choose our you choose your battles, and now what are those GTM motions that you guys see that work out, and what are those things that didn't work out? Like just to have some learnings from your own go-to-market campaigns.
So if we talk Dreamdata specifically, I think in the early days, we were told by a lot of investors that you should do outbound and select some accounts and then write them emails and call them and stuff like that. But it was
because
me who had to
read the book, right? Everybody read the book of predictive revenue from Aaron, and now
and
that.
They didn't look at me, who's a marketer by background, who know those tactics, but they would still advise me to do outbound, and probably tried and failed that over a period of 3 to 6 months, getting nowhere. But once we got rid of the kind of like well-meaning investors that want to help us, and I started focusing on the tactics which I knew, which was deciding upon an ideal customer profile, starting running advertisement in front of just those kind of people, then the whole inbound motion started to pick up for us, because we were getting in front of the right people. And I felt so ineffective when I was writing just one person cold outbounding, when I knew that there's a group of 50 or 100 of those people right here, and I could put the same message in front of all of them at the same time. So I think the best advice I can give to people is to play to their own strengths, and stop listening to all these advices and like start looking at what are you good at, and then try to harvest within those activities.
So in the end, you guys did the outbound, or?
No, we're like almost 100% inbound driven nowadays. If I don't know if you call social selling making noise on LinkedIn inbound or outbound, but at least people come to our website, book demos, and sign up for free.
Got it. So you guys do mainly the social selling. I think you guys also have a lot of data that you could run some benchmarkings. Like, are you using your own, let's say, data or that you collect for your own marketing? And if yes, how do you guys do that?
Yeah, so we dog feed the usage of Dreamdata every day. So we know the paths people take towards becoming customers with us. So a typical exercise I would do every month is look at where did the good leads or accounts that we win come from, and then try to figure out if there's any way I can do more of these activities. And on the other side, we of course can then go back and look at the experiments that we were running that didn't have any impact at all, and make sure I scratch them off the list of trying them anytime soon again.
Got it. And you guys also do a podcast. Can you tell us more about that podcast experience, and how does it work? How is it taking off? And what you would recommend for the folks out there that are still, let's say, hesitant with the whole podcasting motion?
It's you can probably split it in two, or kind of. Oh, this is definitely not a topic that I'm an expert on. The podcast we host ourselves, you can call it. That's kind of a best of list of all the other things we do on the internet. So we do weekly. We do 1 or 2 LinkedIn lives. And the best of the LinkedIn lives, we then republish through our podcast. We produce a few episodes that is just intended to go out as podcasts, but it's mainly just like a best of track of people who wants to consume our content in other places. That said, we probably still pitch ourselves to podcasts on a weekly basis as well, where we're trying to find a relevant podcast like yours here to be on. And the reason why, and this is kind of this is purely gut feeling based. So I don't know how many people would listen to this podcast, but if it's 50 or 100 people, and I spend an hour talking with you, and it's called the RevOps ABM Alignment, then I don't have to measure that these people listen to me, because I know they're pretty relevant, and if I can give the first or second impression of the Dreamdata brand here, then we just do it because it feels right. So I think that is also like, there's a lot of activities that lend themselves to being very quantitative analyzed. And then there's others you just have to do based out of your gut feeling and experience, because it feels like the right thing to do.
And are you guys in any communities or any type of groups? Because there is Pavilion, there is RevOps Co.
On
all of that. Could you tell us more a bit about those communities, and if you would recommend them? If yes, why would you recommend them? How did you guys use it?
Yeah, I think my Slack I'm like in 15 communities or something like that. Mm-hmm. I think I would more describe it as, try to take whatever topic you do in your business and then write Slack community, your topic on Google, and see what shows up, because it can be an amazing source of people that you probably want to know and talk to if they're like geeking out just on your topic. So I think it completely makes sense to be involved in these communities. We have a community for anybody who has a Dreamdata account are invited to our Slack community, so people can ask questions and help each other and get support from us as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So let's make the audience stop for a while and take out a paper and pencil and list down some top 5 communities that you recommend if they are in B2B SaaS, if they want RevOps and ABM. Where should these guys be?
I can just go look. I'll just open my Slack here and I'll tell you which ones I'm in. There's the Dreamdata Slack community. You can join that. But then I'm in Pavilion, as you said, the paid Pavilion. That's quite good. I'm in one that is called SaaS Nordic community. I'm in Marketing Ops Professionals. And then I would even recommend, there's one that is called Driving Demand, and there's also one community that's called Demand Community. So I think there's so many out there, and I think you just need to head to Google to find the ones that are relevant to whatever business that you're in.
I would also recommend RevOps Co. So if you're in RevOps,
I didn't know that one. Yeah.
Yeah, RevOps Co. is for obviously RevOps folks. If you are in HubSpot and you are into HubSpot, they have more like a Discord community, but they have a really good Discord community for HubSpot that I really recommend to try.
Super nice.
Yeah. So I believe that communities are something that will drive the future, because there is where we can learn from each other, right? And this is all about learning, right? Like constantly from each other. Great. Steffen, for closing, where can people find you? what are you posting about on LinkedIn? What are your topic of interest? What can
Yeah.
people find on your LinkedIn account?
Yeah, I think the obvious question is, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I write about anything related to B2B marketing in general. Sometimes it's also a little bit about how it is to be a co-founder and CMO of a company, but it's in that sphere of B2B marketing. And I post on a typical week, I post 3 to 5 times. So there's lots of posts that you can go like. I'll appreciate that.
And usually I like to also ask the question of where can people actually meet you in person? Like what are those conferences that you usually go for where people can actually meet you, and some conferences that you would recommend?
So I'm not the biggest conference person, but it would probably be SaaStr in the European one, and then I think we'll go to Inbound in September that HubSpot hosts as well, and then probably be at the Tech Barbecue, which is
Tech Barbecue
an event in
Copenhagen, right?
Copenhagen. Yeah, I live in Copenhagen, so it's easier for me if you want to meet me to go there.
Yeah.
Then, yeah.
Great. So we have SaaStr Inbound by HubSpot, which is in Boston in September.
Are you going there?
And also Tech Barbecue, which is also in September, but in Copenhagen. Great. So guys, if you want to meet Steffen, dive deep more into revenue attribution, CMO topics, any type of customer journey, if you have these kind of challenges, Steffen is a great resource. Join the communities that he mentioned about and start actually from the beginning collecting data, because when those users that will become customers actually sign up and they start to use your tool, all this data is revealed for you, and then you can emulate, right? And you can repeat that, and you can learn from those processes. If you don't have that data, it's really, really hard to actually understand what's happening. It's like trying to go on hiking up on a mountain for the first time and not having a map, and then you go again to the same mountain and again you don't bring your map, and it's like deleting your memory on the same trail. So if you have these data points, then you're actually making that map. And not only that you're making that map, but you're remembering, right? And then you can be much more efficient on that journey. So thanks a lot, Steffen. And
thank you, Romeo.
We are in touch. We will share with you the notes and everything, and see you guys in the next episode where we dive into the obvious RevOps and ABM for you folks. Take care. Bye.